You work hard to stay healthy and want the freedom to make the best decisions for yourself and your family. So why does healthcare still feel expensive and frustrating? Crowd Health is a different approach, built for entrepreneurs, families, and independent-minded people who want a simpler way to pay for healthcare. More than 28,000 members have already joined, and over 40,000 medical bills have already been funded. No restrictive networks, no corporate middlemen, just real people helping each other. Learn more at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back into Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, except no Tim LaComb, no Scotty G today. Alex Napolis and Jake Hatch filling in, taking you through the midday. Football is right around the corner, Jake Hatch. You have the Big 12 Media Days that's coming up here next week, and then, of course, you had the big celebration yesterday to welcome in a new era in the Pac-12 with Utah State making the move over there. And, just hearing from some of the conversations that Scotty and Coach had yesterday up there in Logan, hearing some of the and seeing some of the reactions online and stuff like that, it seems like Utah State, the university, the football team, the basketball team, everybody involved is really, really excited, really, really stoked to make the move over to the new era of Pac-12.
Well, as they should be, because this is, I know it's not the Pac-12 that we grew to know when Utah was in it and everything, but it is still a brand name out there.
You're right.
And it brings a certain prestige with it. The nice part is, I believe in very short order, I think it's going to become the preeminent G6 conference. I really do think the schools in it are capable of elevating themselves, especially in football. Yeah, Gonzaga in basketball also. Like this is going to be a very stout league. And Utah State, I'm glad they're in it. And it gives them an opportunity to elevate themselves in so many different ways. And this is, in some small way, it's so funny to me. Bronco Mendenhall left BYU in large part because of the fact that they didn't have what was then Power 5 affiliation. Mm-hmm. He was very clear about it. He said he thought independence is unsustainable. And I think most of the sentiment around BYU internally was just that. But Bronco wasn't afraid to go out and say it openly.
Right. And now you're in a situation where you're ushering in a new G6. What feels like.
And I think if he had had his druthers at that time, BYU probably would have been in the Pac-12. So now, in some ironic twist of fate, after he's changed jobs, now this is his fourth stop since then, he's now in the Pac-12, albeit at the helm of the Utah State Aggies. But it's a good thing for Utah State. It elevates their brand. It puts them in one of the premier G6 conferences and gives them an opportunity to, I think, just really compete at a higher level. It's nothing against the Mountain West, but you took the cream of the crop, I think, out of the Mountain West, put them with the likes of Washington State and Oregon State who have aspirations. Yeah, Gonzaga in basketball. Yeah, I think this is a good spot for the Aggies to be in.
Oh, I think the basketball of it all, with the addition of Gonzaga, with the some of these really, really great Mountain West former Mountain West schools who were really, really competitive in basketball. The basketball, I think of it, is going to be super, super entertaining, super fun to watch. The football of it, I think there's an opening here for a school like Utah State to say, and I think that's the sentiment that was felt, hearing from Kem Walker yesterday talk, is that there is an opening for somebody to emerge as the quote-unquote big dog of the Pac-12, and they feel like they're in a position to do so.
Well, as they should.
Absolutely. Let's hear from Bronco Mendenhall, the head coach of Utah State football. He sat down with Scotty G and the coach yesterday, and it starts off talking about their viral clip of them trekking that went viral on social media.
I love the fact you made those dudes do trek. I thought I was impressive.
Yeah, I've had lots and lots of comments about that. Almost all favorable. A year ago, when I came to Utah State, I realized with so many transfer players that hadn't been in the state, didn't know its history, and didn't really have a strong connection other than playing the game. And so a year ago, there were team meetings where I was showing pictures of, people that came and settled this valley, others that settled Salt Lake Valley, and then just stories from along the way. And then I kind of educated them as to how many settlers just came, regardless of faith, right? How many came west, and then how many are in covered wagons, and then how many were in pulling hand carts, which, as we already know, man, that wasn't because they had an abundance of wealth and things were going well, right? I mean, that was kind of just
necessity. That's how we're going to do it.
Gotta find a way to get it done.
We're going to find a way. And so I then shared stories, again, this is starting from a year ago, about those that were then settling this valley and the challenges and the battle and the resiliency and the toughness of the people to do that, which was, not insignificant. And a year ago, we reached out and we really tried to get the event done then, just not quite fast enough turnaround time, weather, the season, etc. But put a bookmark in place of, we're going to do this next year. And again, we really I like to do challenging things. And I know by doing super hard things together, it galvanizes relationships and it brings people together. So let's just say, as we are this year, 53% of our roster is new again. Kids from all over the country don't really know anything about the state and how it became, but it is college athletics. And so there's a chance to educate them, bind them, to have them relate to, have them show appreciation to the legacy of this valley, the people that have settled here, what that took. It seemed to make sense. It just so happens then that we could construct a really challenging route, almost all uphill, right? And we loaded the hand carts significantly. And every year I basically conduct what I call the interview with our players, and they usually do it one at a time, sometimes small groups. So this basically was in place of an annual event I call the interview, where it was a team-wide interview, but also education, team building, and quite frankly, a college experience that I think is maybe specific and unique only to Utah and Utah State. And so it made sense from a lot of different ways. And the players, lots of appreciation and gratitude and a lot of thank yous after, even though it was challenging, just for the time, energy, and effort to make a distinct and unique experience. Because many are coming from other schools and didn't know anything about the school, the place, and they were like, this is better to be have an appreciation for it.
I was going to ask you what the player reaction was, but also I got to imagine some of those guys get on a handcart. They're like, that shouldn't be that hard. Then all of a sudden, like, whoa.
Well, it was really fun. So the reaction was really positive. So they didn't know. I sent out a text the night before, said team meeting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. So the coaches didn't know either.
Yeah.
And so team meeting at 5, and then still didn't announce what we were doing. Just said buses are outside, and we'll give you instructions when we get there. Told them what shoes to put on. So got on buses and then went up the canyon. And then when they got out, they started looking around, and it's like, oh. And then there was the orientation there. So they literally didn't know. And tribute to our coaching staff and Summer and our director of football operations, Joe Spaziani, and Pat Hickman, our chief of staff. That little subgroup had been working, and it didn't leak all the way until we're getting out of the buses to then literally start the exercise, which was great. Really, the players had a great experience, and I would say gratitude was probably the thing they shared most. The thing that was really interesting to me, and they expected the event to take a lot longer, those that organized it, and they hadn't seen that kind of teamwork and speed. And we were about almost 2 hours ahead of schedule by the time we had a meal set up for after, and it was done so quickly in about an hour and a half's time, where what they had allotted was significantly different. But anyway, what I found is that the groups were divided. So in the team meeting, we showed the groups of 4. And those groups of 4 were random and atypical. And so we put together, I think it was 28 different teams of 4. And some of those teams clicked and were cohesive and coordinated right from the beginning. Yeah, others were not. And, disproportionate pulling and zigzagging and communication patterns and along the way, we had it staged at each mile where there's a new challenge where now you can only pull with 3, or here's weight because someone now is more tired than normal, so they had to put weighted chains on. And so we're making different challenges within the event. But what was interesting to me is I was just imagining families as maybe a loved one sprains an ankle or gets the flu, and then, where do they go? the subgroup along the way, different levels of motivation in each cart, right? And to keep that whole string together, there were gaps, and there was others kind of running into each other, and some too close. I mean, there was a lot to manage. And so I was just thinking also from a leadership perspective, man, to get for those folks to come from as far away as they did and to actually make it, especially those in adverse conditions. But I think each family was challenged too. As I watched those subgroups of 4, it wasn't like that was just everything was just fun and friendly that whole time. There were moments where, hey, are you going to pull? Or I said, stop. You know, so there was kind of opportunities there for team building, but also just, I think, appreciation for thinking about if that was their family and not making it's not an option, right?
Yeah.
So you got to find a way. And so I loved watching that.
In some ways, I mean, the way you're describing that, you simulated in a season.
That's
just
it.
one season.
Exactly right.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Exactly.
You're simulating a season because nobody, unless you've been in the locker room in some capacity, you know, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, and you don't need to get into this, but I can now. But seriously, unless you've been in the building, and to win a game is brutal.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's like a war on the sidelines, right?
Well, it is, and so one of the things we say here a lot, and I tell this to my own boys with like their social experiences and dating, and to my team, the idea is to know before you know, and what things can you do in advance that are going to tell you what it's going to be, and you know, dinner and a movie doesn't really do that.
Hey guys, you want to hang?
Yeah, that's not how at least my wife and I, that our relationship's way past dinner and movie. There's just hard stuff happening. But if you already know you can rely and trust on that person, and you've already seen them in all these different contexts, there's a different level of trust. So to your point, yeah, one of the main reasons is to see and know before we know, and who can I trust, who will communicate well, what groups of people can be relied on, what does a leadership council look like from that, what I just saw, which by the way we selected about a week after seeing that, because it was like tryouts, like, so that guy, yep, that guy, wow, that's surprising, but yeah, that guy wouldn't have ever guessed it, but look at him. And so being able to know before you know was, I think, to your point of the season, that was one of the things too.
Bronco Mendenhall joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Were you on horseback during this?
I wasn't. No, there were those on horseback, and so there's, the message they said it's not only supervision wise, but there's some snakes in the canyon,
right?
Oh,
okay.
And so the horses kind of moving and around, so in front and back and going up the sides. I was just roaming, and so I was seeing which carts were lagging and occasionally providing an extra push, either physically or verbally, providing communication, and then just being where it was needed. It allowed me to kind of be boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And rather than above and separated, I got a sense of kind of literally just by going alongside each group and what that looked like and what the kids, maybe a deeper sense of who they really were. And that was really helpful.
You fascinate me, bro. I coached for a long time, and actually alongside you, actually was a neighbor of yours in Alpine. But we never really connected. But man, I've got a respect for the way you approach things. Because coaching to me at a certain point went from the low-hanging whistle and bike shorts and guys that kind of knew what they were doing to a science. But you were early in that. And just kind of talk me through that transformation.
Yeah, I think the science part, and I would say I'm still transforming, and I learn every day, which is the coolest part about my job. Young people are inspiring, and they're so smart and capable, and so I love that environment. But I remember being a first-time head coach at BYU, and I can't say daily, but frequently a player or someone would come into my office with a challenge or a problem that I did not have the answer to. I might have a principle that I thought this was right or wrong, but not really the solution of now here's what to do about it. So the science part really became my fascination with reading at that point of trying to become an expert on each topic that came in. And so my library is designed really by shelves that was then by a person, a player or staff member coming in with a challenge or a problem that I didn't have the answer to. But I felt it was my responsibility, but also just, I think, strong leadership and establishing trust to have the answers. When someone did trust me enough to come to ask, I felt obligated, but also fulfilled if I could help. And I didn't feel that way if I couldn't. And so the science part really, and the approach was built really through humility of not knowing. And then this quest of kind of going back to school in the real world to get a master's or a doctorate in sports science, in psychology, in anxiety or depression, in marriage counseling, right, in human performance, in the development of habits, in really any topic. And that really was just simply to provide the most answers for the people I care about. And there's a different level of peace that comes from having answers when someone comes to see you versus not being able to help. And yeah, I've learned that the hard way, and there's still plenty that I don't know for sure.
I know you have to be somewhat hands-off in the summer in regards to workouts and things along those lines. You gave the mantle of the starting quarterback spot to McKay Hillstead in hopes that he could be that leader to have the voluntary workouts and to lead those. How do you feel like that mantle is being held by him?
Oh, it's fascinating to watch each team and each leader do that. So I watched Bryson Barnes a year ago, and his leadership style and personality. It's very similar to Coach's, and so McKay, one of our assistant coaches, shared a document with me the other day that I think one of the receivers passed on to him, and it was his weekly schedule from McKay. And it had the day, the minute, the hour, the sequencing, the progressions, the install, the coaching points. And so this is happening with me not even knowing about it. And yet here's a leader leading. It's such a precise, specific, and designed and intentional way that he's capturing. So leadership, right, is capturing the hearts and minds of those you lead. That happens not only through an approach, but then through competency. So he's doing both. And it was really clear in the spring that's what he was deserving of. To see him now take it and leverage that, his credibility with our team is, well, put it this way. When I am in the office now, which is I'll be here most of July, I walked by an offensive meeting room and it was jammed. I mean, it was the entire offense, and I wasn't standing in front, nor did I even know the meeting was going on. McKay was standing in front, and film is going, the clicker is happening, there's dialogue, and I don't know. I think many times in college athletics and many times in leadership, especially as adults and grown-ups, we think that we have to be the one. I believe in the level 5 leadership model where we're really being off to the side after architecting and enabling. And, man, if you watch in my faith, young people go out and serve and learn languages. And I mean, what they're asked to do is just mind-boggling. And then, yet we don't think a player can lead a meeting in a football program. Like, what?
Yeah, that's a coach's job.
That's it. That's the most. Yeah, and so many of the coaches, well, what do I do? Well, you then help them lead from off to the side. You don't need to be the one in front. And, man, that's not how we view strong leadership in football. And yet I actually think my number one job is over time to make myself irrelevant, right, to have passed on everything possible, and they got it. And then maybe on occasion it's a text or a call. Hey, Coach, this is a tough one. What about? But the less that becomes, I think the more effective I've been over time. And I think we view it the opposite way. And there's models that have worked the other way, so I'm not saying it doesn't. I just prefer a little bit different.
We're both cavemen.
Home of the caveman.
You know the fight song, I'm sure.
Dear old AFI, yes, we will love you till we die. Our banner's bright of red and white will be a beacon through the night. Oh, yeah, it's right there. Mm-hmm.
My favorite part, though, is coming up. Dramatic arts.
Football and track.
Football and track.
We'll always bring the honors back. We'll sing our praises to the sky.
Bronco
we'll
and I will always fight for
AFI.
Go, go. So anyway, that's our shout out for the Steel Days is coming up.
There it
man.
is. Yeah.
I don't know how to top that,
so
Coach.
I've had a lot of things
who would have
on my
guessed
dossier.
that was going to happen today? When I woke up, I did not see that coming.
Well, Bronco and I click. So
yes.
He gets me, I get him.
The chemistry, when you go to American Fork, it's just kind of what happens.
It's in the blood.
Yeah.
You probably have some manure on your shoe. You dabbled maybe in, I don't know, you've gone on the wrong side of the track a time or two.
And there's heritage into Geneva Steel and the steel workers. There's a grit that's part of that.
I watched you play at West High School.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Like there were guys there were snipers up on the roof.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Were you a sophomore on that team?
I was a sophomore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember you. You
got
always looked so you looked like you could just bash somebody's head in back in the day.
But there were some comments made as I was walking out to the field where it's like, and they were coming from the female students, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what we want to do.
They wanted to fight.
Yeah, we're okay.
We lost that game, right?
We did. Yeah, crud.
Well, Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming by, hanging out with us. Can't wait to bug you a little bit more during the fall. I know.
There you go. Utah State football head coach Bronco Mendenhall yesterday with Scotty G and the coach, talking a lot about the Trek trip again that went absolutely viral. But then the thing that stood out to me the most yesterday in that conversation was, of course, McKay Hillstead, former BYU quarterback, now up at Utah State, and he's QB1. He's Bronco Mendenhall and his staff are all in on McKay Hillstead.
Well, and that's the thing about this is Hillstead. If Bear Bachmeier does not enroll at BYU last year, the alternate reality is that McKay Hillstead's probably QB1 right now in Provo, Utah.
Yes.
Like, that's the way things are kind of trending, it felt like, in some ways down there in Provo. And it's cool to see him go back to the program he was originally with, speaking of Utah State, proving you can go home again in a way. And I hope he goes out there and kills it. Now, obviously, they're hoping that as well because Bronco knows how critical quarterback play is, especially in this day and age of college football. I'm curious to see how he fits into Robert and I's offense. Dr. Bob, as people like to call him, he has coordinated some very high-level offenses. And the nice part is I've watched Anai's offenses for years, and he has proven to be pretty good about adapting his system to fit the quarterbacks he has to work with. And McKay Hillstead, it's not a bad thing. He is a pint-sized quarterback. He's not a big dude. He's got a lot of skill. He's got a lot of speed. He can run and throw, and that'll be very useful, I think, in the offense that Robert and I is going to throw out there. And I know that Bronco Mendenhall, talk about a guy who knows what he's after because he's done this at a high level for a long time. He wants to win, and he knows that they've upped the ante when it comes to going to the Pac-12, and that's going to require a high level of play, and he fully expects that to come from a guy like McKay Hillstead.
I think if I remember correctly, going back to my first year doing the high school stuff, I remember calling one of his games for Skyridge back in the day, and you could see the potential. You could see that there was a really, really high ceiling for him. You could see it, while he was slinging it down there for the Skyridge Falcons. And
I called his very first start in high school.
There you go.
I went to Skyridge, and I went out there to talk to their coaches, and they had 3 different quarterbacks they had listed on their depth chart.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Coach, I'm Jake Hatch, KSL Sports, calling the game tonight. Can you tell me who your quarterback's going to be? And I think it was John Lehman, turns around and points at this guy who I'm like, he's like, it's my guy right there, McKay Hillstead, he's a sophomore. And I'm like, and I half expected him to start laughing and be like, JK, that's the sophomore. No, he's dead serious. It's McKay Hillstead. And McKay at that point was probably close to the height he is still today, like 5'10", 5'11", but probably $150 weight-wise. And I'm like, this kid's going to get broken. You're sacrificing him to the wolves. Like, what are you doing here? But all he did is go out there, and I had to go back and look at this. I'm fairly certain he passed for 200 and ran for 200, it felt like, in that game.
Wow.
And I was like,
like I said, man, you saw the potential.
This kid's a dynamo.
Absolutely. You saw the potential from the high school days. You saw the potential his 1 year with Utah State before he makes the move over to BYU. And I hope that now he can go back up to Logan. He can go back up to Utah State and finally get into that untapped potential that I think we've all seen throughout the course of the career of McKay Hillstead. Not that, he couldn't go down to BYU and do the same thing. I just think that up there at Utah State with Bronco Mendenhall, with that offense, I'm curious to see if he's able to get to that levels that we've all thought McKay Hillstead could get to.
Did you guys get a kick out of him saying that he literally did not tell the team until they got on the buses about Trek?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, neither one of you have been on Trek before, right?
No.
Did you ever do Trek?
It crossed my mind.
No, it shouldn't have. I've done it once, and I'm telling you, never wanted to do it again.
Yeah, but you got to get the little hatchlings out there. Come on.
No, trust me. So my mother and father-in-law just got roped into being like the cooks for Trek, and they're going to Wyoming. And let's just put it this way: my mother-in-law was like, "You want us to do what now?" and they're gonna literally follow the group.
Why do I picture like a lot of baked beans?
It
Do they do baked beans?
Yeah. I trust me. It was sandy, hot, and miserable. Is all I remember from it. So, props to Bronco for getting his guys to do it. It is one of those like kind of unique experiences, but.
I would love to be in the conversations after this happened amongst one another.
Oh, bro, what did we just do? Because here's the thing. A lot of guys are of the predominant faith around here, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is what Trek comes from. It comes from the Pioneer experience. But there's a lot of guys in a football program like Utah State that are from out of state who have no connection whatsoever.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the out of state guys were feeling
They're like,
after that experience.
A hand cart? What do we? What?
And I push it.
So yeah, that is a unique experience, I think, in all of college football. There. Anyways,
love it.
Yeah,
love it. Love that it went viral. Love that everybody's having fun with it online. Love the reactions that people were having online. And it's just stuff like that. As soon as something like that hits social media, that just makes me more and more excited for what's to come with what we anticipate to be a really, really awesome football season here inside the state of Utah. We'll take a break. When we'll come back, we'll jump into Big 12 Media Days. That's coming up next week. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage here down from Dallas on the KSL Sports Zone, and we'll jump in and what we anticipate, what we're looking forward to, and everything as far as Big 12 Media Days goes. That's coming up next here on Scotty G and the Coach. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
G and the Coach, Tim LaComb.
Now I know y'all are tripping.
Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back in. It is Scotty G and the Coach here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napolis and Jake Hatch sitting in today. Let's jump in. Let's look forward to next week as we get ready to turn our page to the Big 12 Media Days. We'll be down there for both Tuesday and Wednesday, bringing you all the coverage and all the action from down there in Dallas. BYU and Utah, of course, locally here will be on the forefront of our minds. But I think the big story nationally, of course, is going to be Texas Tech. And I know that Sorsby in that situation has been moved on from, but I'm sure a lot of people, as far as the national perspective goes, will still have questions about Texas Tech and where things land after Brendan Sorsby.
So last year, Big 12 Media Days, Cody Campbell was making the rounds. Like, for a multi-billionaire, he was everywhere at Big 12 Media Days last year. He was sat down with almost anybody who asked him if you wanted to talk to him. He would sit down with you, do an interview and whatnot. And he was really trying to start, like, he was starting to emerge on the national stage in terms of becoming the force he's become in college sports. I wonder if he shows up this year,
Right.
especially considering the heat.
Oh man, everybody! I mean, I've never seen people come together for as good as they did for this whole Texas Tech situation. And of course, Cody Campbell being the guy who's online clamoring about Save College Sports and all these legislations that are being passed for him to immediately turn around and try to get Brendan Sorsby to play college football. Like, it's a little bit of a double standard there, Cody. And so we'll see what his reaction is and if he shows up to talk to media as he did last year. That's
kind of the one thing about Texas Tech. I'm wondering if he shows up because obviously you will have Joey McGuire there because he's required to be there as the head coach and everything. I just wonder how much of the other Texas Tech brass, A, is there, and B, is kind of like milling around and willing to talk and go on the record and all that type of stuff. That's one with regards to the Texas Tech story. The other thing I'm looking at here, Alex, and I'll get your thought on this, is the Big 12 did away with their media poll a couple of years ago. Now, there are informal ones. And by the way, we just put it out. Did it go up today, Lloyd? Do you know about this? We had our KSL Sports Big 12 poll. It debuted today. Is that right? And we have 11 voting members that ultimately weighed in on this. 9 of them picked Texas Tech at the top of the poll. Now, there are these, I call them straw polls because I participated in 3 of them last year down there in like different media groups who are like, hey, would you mind doing an informal media poll? I do wonder. So we have Texas Tech with 9 of the 11 first place votes in our KSL Sports one. That's all of our internal employees voting on it. 2 to BYU. I want to get a feel for how many people are going to continue to tab Texas Tech as the defending champions to repeat, or if some of them have the sheen, I guess, in a way, with the Brendan Sorsby stuff, wears off on some people, and it's almost like an opposition vote where they're like, no, I'm picking BYU because I don't want to pick Texas Tech.
Well, and the way that I see Texas Tech still being at the top is, they're the Big 12 champions, and until somebody comes in and takes down the Big 12 champions, like, they deserve some type of respect to that extent. Now, I think that lost in all this too, and the Brendan Sorsby stuff, is the fact that they still went out in the transfer portal and they still made moves. They still brought in some transfers. They're still reloading that roster despite losing a lot of talent, specifically on the defensive side, like Bailey, like Rodriguez, etc. And you look at now Texas Tech and quarterback play is so important in college football, and you need to have a reliable, good quarterback that is going to get the job done. And that's where I'll ding Texas Tech is. I just don't know if right now they have the quarterback that can throughout the course of a 12-game plus season can lead that team down there the way that maybe Brendan Morton did last season, and then maybe Brendan Sorsby would have had he, of course, been able to play for Texas Tech this season. Yeah,
the Hammond situation is going to be interesting because they have openly admitted that he probably won't be ready until at least week 2.
Yes. And maybe that conversation changes for me, at least my perspective, if Will Hammond is 100% and ready to go.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's coming off this injury, the fact that he's coming off of and not 100% heading into the season, and has to miss spring camp, has to miss fall camp, training camp, all that stuff, then that changes the conversation for me as to whether or not Will Hammond can be the guy for Texas Tech.
It'll be interesting. The biggest thing is Tech has got such a big spotlight on them because of the money they're spending, the outspoken nature of people like Cody Campbell, the fact that they went seemingly to the ends of the earth to defend Brendan Sorsby, and it's going to bring a lot of the attention of Big 12 Media Days onto them, and it'd be interesting to see how these other programs I almost deal with that in a way, Alex, like in terms of like, hey, they're getting all this attention over here. What about the other 15 teams in the league? I think that BYU, I think Utah with our station covering it, there'll be plenty of focus, as you mentioned, with us doing that. I'm just wondering about more, I guess, league-wide in a way with the other media members and the like, how they handle that. Now, I have an interesting question for you. So we're going back 2 years ago at Big 12 Media Days. Then West Virginia coach, it wasn't Rich Rod, it's got to be before him. I'm Neil, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. WV football coach fired. Neil Brown.
Neil Brown, yes.
Super generic name. I should have been able to remember that. He got up in front of the media at Big 12 Media Days. They were picked to finish last, if I recall, or near last in the league. It was 2 or 3 years ago. And he got up there, and he was like, just beside himself. He's like, I guarantee you we are not going to finish that low in the poll. We are going to make it. And they backed it up. It was his lone season at West Virginia where he actually did okay, and then it kind of fell right back off, and they fired him and hired Rich Rod. Is there a team that perception-wise you think could be near the bottom of the league that if their coach were to get up there and like go with the guarantee, we're not going to finish, like, Who do you tab that for?
Oh, okay. I think the easy answer here is Oklahoma State.
But are they going to be picked that low, though?
And that's the question. I think people, first of all, I look at Oklahoma State, and I think people are overrating them.
Fair.
To begin with.
Yeah.
There was some things that were put out there of them saying, oh, they can go on, they win the Big 12 and stuff like that. But I think that they still have to go out there and prove it with the new head coach. And I know that the transfers they made are really, really enticing and can be and will potentially be really, really good. I just look at that Oklahoma State team as a team who didn't win any conference games the last 2 seasons, and they're obviously going to make a big step up because of the talent that they've brought in. I don't know if they'll be picked towards the bottom. I think on the KSL one they have them at 9th, but that's a team that I look at as that was the team at the bottom who was going to make a big jump.
Sure. All right, so this is obviously an interesting conversation because you're trying to predict. We're talking literally months down the line here, Alex, and so many variables go into this: injuries, luck when it comes to turnovers, having standout players really emerge. The team that I think that could do that this year are the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Yeah, not a lot of people are talking about West Virginia, and
there's one thing that Rich Rodriguez has proven
Yes.
is he can coach.
I think just having the factor of Rich Rod and seeing the improvements that they took last season,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past that West Virginia somehow makes their way out of as again being considered one of the bottom teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, so our KSL sports poll has them 13th, so bottom tier, bottom quarter of the league. They are among UCF, Colorado, and Iowa State, and I think those are pretty easy to see those being kind of the bottom three. But I do think that West Virginia could be one of those teams that, if Rich Rod does what he has done seemingly routinely throughout his coaching career and gets the most out of teams, is they can make some noise. I'm not saying they're going to like win the entire league.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like it's kind of what Neil Brown did. I remember I was sitting there. I think it was at AT&T Stadium when he made that guarantee, and they went out and had like a 9-win season, and they were like picked to finish similar to where they were tabbed this year. I think in 9-3, I think it got them like in the top quarter. Like that's so. I'm interested to see which of those teams kind of get that, and which team ends up being that surprise team.
Absolutely. As far as the local teams go, as far as the storylines locally,
Yeah.
I think to me the biggest one, and the one that will also, of course, be a part of the national conversation, but the one that I've got my eye on the most it has to be, of course, first year head coach Morgan Scally.
Yeah.
I know BYU's coming off the season that they just had, but you have a lot more stability. You have more luck, a lot more continuity when it comes to the coaching staff, when it comes to the players, when it comes to who you know is going to be lining up there, when it comes to week one. For me, there's a lot more questions about Utah, and of course, it's going to be first year head coach Morgan Scally, and the storyline there, how he handles himself through his first Big 12 media days as far as being the head coach of this program, and of course, seeing some of these guys that you know are going to be massive contributors like Devin Dampier and Wayshawn Parker for Utah down there in Dallas.
Utah has a lot of questions for a team that's coming off a 10-win year.
And it's kind of crazy.
It is,
it's kind of crazy, but it's also warranted because
Yeah.
that's just the nature of what comes with college football
Yeah.
and the nature of what comes with losing your head coach and having now a first-year head coach. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that there isn't many people more suited for taking over for the guy than Morgan Scally, but it's just going to come with the territory of this is his first year as a head coach of a football program in college football.
Yeah, I am curious, and there's no real good way to get this answer at Big 12 Media Days. Did you know that, and this was pointed out to me just a little while ago, Utah is replacing the entirety of their offensive
That's right.
and defensive lines.
That's right.
All 9 starting positions are being turned over this year. And for a program that for the 2+ decades that Kyle Whittingham was the head coach there, prided themselves on beating the crap out of you with their offensive and defensive line play, to completely turn that over in year one, it's a question mark that, like I said, I'm not sure you can get a real good answer for that at media day because it obviously has to be proven out on the field. But I am genuinely curious to see how Utah adapts to that wholesale turnover.
Right. And I'm sure if you bring it up and you ask about it, it's going to be, oh, yeah, they've been making really great progress. And
Sure.
of course, the things you want to hear as a Utah
Well, it's media
fan,
day. It's talking
right.
season, baby.
As a Utah fan, they're going to say all the right things that you want to hear, but you're not going to know until they take that first snap. You're not going to know probably, maybe even until the first Big 12 game for Utah. Or maybe Arkansas, week 2, right?
Yeah.
For Utah's and the offensive line, I think to me that's the biggest red circle that I have on the
Sure.
roster. Not only because you lose the 5 starters, not only you lose NFL first round talent, but you also have to replace Jim Harding, who has been a massive component and a massive cog to the success that Kyle Whittingham has had at Utah over the course of the last 20 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I look forward to it. I also do want to just in terms of Morgan Scally, because he's emerging out of the shadow of Kyle Whittingham, and he's now the head coach of the University of Utah.
You're not the guy.
Like I wonder how he goes out there and projects himself. Do I expect to see the Morgan Scally I've seen for the last 2+ decades he's been at Utah? Yes, I do. But
Yeah.
it is truly his first opportunity to really be on that stage in front of the Big 12 media corps.
And to his credit too, he's been going out. He's been making the rounds.
Has.
He's
Yes.
throughout the course of the offseason, he's been making himself available. He's available, and he's been making himself known that this is now my program. And he's been going out there and pumping himself up, pumping up the team.
Yeah.
As he should as the new head coach. Right. You have to make sure that you are in a good spot heading into again this Big 12 Media Days, and of course what is going to be your first season as a football head coach.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like kind of how he addresses questions, because they come from all over the place when it comes to media days. You have people asking you, hey, what's your favorite color when you were just all kinds of stuff. I just wonder how he's going to project and handle himself on that stage. Like I said, I don't expect it to be any different than he's been. Speaking of Morgan Scally, because he's a pretty grounded individual overall, but it is his first kind of true introduction to the nation in a way that he hasn't had before.
What are you looking at when it comes to the BYU Cougars?
I'm interested to see how Bear Bachmeier does. Because he's one of the 6 players that can represent BYU down there at Big 12 Media Days.
He wasn't there last year.
No, he was not.
Well, okay, that's what I thought.
He'll laugh about this. He was all of 2 weeks into his BYU football tenure this time last year.
Okay.
He enrolled in mid-June.
Yes. Okay. That makes more. Yes.
So he was not at Big 12 Media Day. We had really no clue what he was going to become. But now he's one of the faces of the BYU football program. Now, he's not a super eloquent dude at this point in his career, but he does take on the responsibility of understanding I'm QB1. I got to talk to the media. But this is the car wash, as they call it. And I'm interested to see how Bear adapts to it. They have other guys going down there. Bruce Mitchell's going to be there. Isaiah Glasker. Those guys are talkers. Trust me. I talk to them all the time. They know how to talk. I'm just because Bear, as a quarterback, especially when you went 12-2 last year as a true freshman, you're going to be in front of the media. I just wonder how he handles himself. Because it can be overwhelming. It really can. Because you're doing a lot of interviews and you're facing a lot of questions, and it can get monotonous and tiresome in a way.
And ultimately, as it started, there's a certain territory and there's a certain thing that comes with being the face, the QB of BYU football.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious to see how such a young guy handles it. I think if you can take anything from what he did last season, right, in how he carried that offense, I'm pretty confident that he can also handle a little bit of that Big 12 Media Day pressure.
Well, and here's the thing. I thought similarly about LJ Martin last year because LJ went down there to represent BYU, and LJ he's just kind of a quiet dude. He likes to lead more by example than with his words. But when I talked to him and I was like, okay, he stepped up to the plate and he delivered in a big way. So I kind of expect the same thing from Bear, but this is similar to the Morgan Scally situation. This is Bear's first real time where he's really addressing multiple media members in the same environment, facing the same questions, and just I call it the car wash. It's exactly what it is.
All right, we'll wrap things up on the other side. It is Scotty G and the coach here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
When maintaining your daily wellness rituals is important to you, the change in routine during the summer can feel daunting. Kachava's new travel packs help you stick to your daily ritual, even when you're on the go. Just one packet of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake provides complete nutrition with 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, adaptogens, and much more. So you'll be fueled and ready for wherever life or your summer adventures take you. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. But you can try it for yourself because the variety pack includes all 6 delicious fan favorites: chocolate, vanilla, chai, matcha, coconut acai, and strawberry. So instead of worrying about sticking to your daily ritual, simplify it with Kachava. Go to Kachava.com and use code FITNESS for 15% off. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast! An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Comes to sports in Utah, we've got you covered. This is Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Final segment of the day here on Scotty G and the coach, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as we get you ready for your holiday weekend.
Okay, no offense to Country Roads. This needs to be the anthem for the U.S. men's national team.
I get you didn't want to, take it from hockey.
I know.
And you want to do your own
Come
thing,
on. Freebird.
Freebird just gets you in a different mood, and I'm glad that
I love John Denver.
I'm glad Tim selected it for the song to play this show out. As you get ready for the holiday weekend, there is, of course, some Summer League games that are going to be happening up on the hill.
Saturday.
At the Huntsman Center on Saturday.
First look at DP in Jazz gear.
Absolutely. You'll get to see Darren Peterson in action. Ace Bailey is expected to be in action, and a couple others there for the Utah Jazz as they've released their Summer League roster earlier this week. One of the things to be on the lookout, though, when it comes to Summer League is they're trying out some new rules. They're testing out some new rules and checking out some new things as they potentially look to make some changes to the NBA. And one of those tests will, of course, be one free throw rule.
This is weird.
That is about to come up this weekend.
This has existed in the NBA G League for quite a while, 2019.
Yes.
And the idea of it is to improve the flow of the game and thereby speed up the game is the idea. Because, they complain sometimes about the length of NBA TV windows. Well, what this is, Alex, is during the upcoming NBA Summer Leagues, when free throws are awarded in the flow of a game, 1, 2, or 3 points, depending on what the foul is, a three-pointer when you fouled, you're supposed to have the three free throws, right?
Right.
Well, they're bagging that.
Oh.
It's one shot.
Not a fan.
So it's either 1, 2, or 3 points worth of value with one shot for the free throw, with the idea it speeds up the game. Now, standard NBA free throw rules will apply in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and during overtime. So it goes back to the traditional format in that respect.
That changes things.
But before that, you can be fouled on a three-pointer, and you get one crack at picking up 3 points. It's all or nothing on one shot.
I do like that the final 2 minutes will continue to be the same free throws that you've seen throughout the course, right? The free throws that you are accustomed to. Because, late game scenarios, late game situations, like the intensity, the drama, the dramatics of a free throw that can potentially win you and lose you a basketball game, you can't take that away. You can't say that, in the last 2 minutes of a game, you can't have someone walk up to the free throw line and say, this one counts for 2, this one counts for 3, if you just make the 1, and that takes out all the drama. That takes out the dramatics of part of what makes basketball so fun is the late minute dramatics.
Correct, and I'm with you on that. The final 2 minutes. The problem is, if it's all or nothing on one shot, well, 1, 2, or 3 points, I know early on in a game may not affect it can affect later on.
And that can have huge implications later on in the game.
Yeah.
As far as doing the all for one earlier, because then that's how you get to late game scenarios anyway.
Yeah. So I don't get this, honestly, because I get it in theory. Does that make sense? Like, I get the idea of trying to speed up and get.
Yeah.
Get the game.
I understand you wanting to speed up the game,
but how about officiate the game better in the first place?
That could be an
and thereby we have better flow to the game overall. Come on, Adam Silver.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this change. We'll see how it looks like during the summer league stuff happening up again at the Huntsman Center this weekend. I'm just not a fan of it, especially because if you do the all for one, back to your point, you're just completely changing the outcomes of games without there necessarily needing to be this change, right? You still have guys go up for their 1s and 2s. You still have guys go up for their 3s if it's a 3, right? Because that can have major implications later on in the game. You're not guaranteed to make the free throws. There are players in this league who still aren't the best when it comes to free throw shooting.
There's a lot, yeah.
And that can change the outcome of a game, even if it is one of these early ones that count for the all for one.
Yeah, I don't know. NBA officiating and basketball officiating overall is even like
it's a big topic of conversation, especially after the SGA stuff and the flopping and all that. But
we already have enough free throws and other stuff going on in the game. We don't need to. Oh, you fouled for 3 free throws. Okay, you get one shot at that. Like I don't know. It does not measure up with what I think the NBA needs to address.
And the question too that I look at that I look with this is: it really to speed up the games, or is it just to have longer intervals where you can have commercials?
Well,
because everybody knows that's where
we put 4 quarters into soccer, didn't we?
That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Where the commercials and the ad revenue.
Put your 4s up when we get to that second hydration break, everybody.
All right, Jake Hatch. Thanks for hanging out today, man. I know that you're coming off of DJ and PK, but
always a blast.
You sat down, hung out, and
Lloyd said it right before we came live. Show flew by. Like, doesn't
It
feel
really
like
did.
Yeah, it went by quick.
It absolutely did.
Quick.
Hey, you guys have a happy 4th, okay?
You do the same,
too,
buddy.
man.
At 2:50.
You too, man.
Be smart with your fireworks if your community allows you to light them
Just
off.
don't do them. Actually,
I'm with
don't
you.
light my house on fire.
I'm with you on that. So I live in Saratoga Springs. They've banned them outright in the entire city. But yeah, be smart out there, everybody. Let's not burn down the state.
Have a great holiday weekend. Have a fun and safe time out there and enjoy some Summer League basketball. The Utah Jazz will be in action on Saturday as we're anticipated to see Darren Peterson make some type of debut in a Utah Jazz uniform in the Summer League. From Alex Napolis, from Jake Hatch, from Lloyd Cole, this has been Scotty G and the Coach here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.